going on, MMA fans? I'm back to do a video entitled Most Underrated and Overrated Fighters in the UFC. I'm going to go by weight divisions. Quick thing just ahead of time, not everyone's going to agree with these picks. I try to stay as unbiased as possible with these and the way that I looked at them and the way that I picked them. Everyone's going to have differing opinions on this. That's the beauty of the sport. It's the beauty of MMA, like I always say. But nonetheless, I'm going to start from lightweight, start with the underrated and overrated, and then work my way up to heavyweight. At 155, I've got Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens is a guy that I've talked about in the past. If he refines his wrestling and even his jiu-jitsu skills, his grappling skills, he's definitely a kid that has a bright future in the UFC and at lightweight. My most overrated fighter, I have Roger Huerta. It's not so much of Roger Huerta's skills. He's a very talented fighter. He's got good hands, a good wrestling base, good grappling skills. But the way the UFC's promoted him and who he's fought, I think they've tried to hype him too early in his career. But nonetheless, I think Roger Huerta at some point here down the line, I still think he's got a lot to learn, but he is going to be a guy to watch out for. He ran into the roadblock with Clay Guida, almost lost that fight, but still, you have to give him credit. He won that fight, pulled it out, and then ran into the roadblock with Kenny Florian. At 170, I've got Dustin Haslett as my underrated fighter. I don't think he gets enough credit. If he refines his striking skills, if he learns how to parry his punches, move in and out of the pocket, have good inside and outside leg kicks, uses footwork effectively, he's a guy that he's already got an excellent grappling base, very, very good off of his back. He's a guy to watch out for. My most overrated fighter is Diego Sanchez. Not so much by the way that the UFC has promoted him, but the way that he hypes himself. The time right before he fought Josh Koscheck, he was training with Oscar De La Hoya. You know, just kept hyping about how good his hands were and how Oscar was making his hands amazing, and how he's going to win this fight and this and that. Diego, you know, seems to hype himself and believe that he's something that, in some points, that he's not. He's an excellent grappler. You cannot take that away from him. But I still think that he needs to work on his hands. That's an area that he needs to improve on. But his cut down to 155, if he does move to 155, watch out. He is going to be a guy to look out for at that weight class. 185, I've got Rusmar Palhares as my most underrated. If he gets his striking dialed in, gets it nice and crisp, he's a guy to look out for. He's got an awesome top and bottom game. You know, an Abu Dhabi grappler, very, very talented. Got the same type of build that Palafio has, and I think that will suit him well later on down the road, even if he gets in a fight with at some point with Anderson Silva and he works his way up to that fight. I think Rusmar will use that build effectively and that wrestling base that he has in order to try to transition positions on Anderson. But my most overrated fighter at 185, I have Michael Bisping. And the reason that I have Bisping at this as overrated is not because of, again, like Roger Huerta, his talent. He's a very talented fighter. He's got good hands, good leg kicks, good top game, good grappling. But who he's fought and the way that the UFC has marketed him, he's fought Charles McCarthy, Jason Day, and Chris Lieben. And they're talking about giving him a title shot after his next fight, which these aren't top echelon fighters in that division. We saw the same thing happen with Bisping at 205. He fought guys that were not exactly top competition at that weight class, and then when he fought guys like Matt Hamill and then Rashad Evans, he ran into problems. But Michael Bisping, he does have the potential to be a top echelon fighter at 185. He's a lot better at 185. I do think that he is going to pull that off here, if not sooner than later, but at some point here in the next couple months, if not a year from now, at 185. So at 205, Lyoto Machida is my most underrated fighter. He's probably not going to get a title shot, which is sad, and that's because of his style. He's elusive, good footwork, good hands, good karate background. He's got good grappling, got a good top and bottom game. My most overrated fighter at 205, Chuck Liddell and Rich Franklin. I have both of them. Chuck Liddell is on the downturn of his career. Of course, the UFC has to market him like he's still the fighter that he was, just for pay-per-view buys and because he draws a crowd. But he's suffered 2 vicious knockout losses, similar to Vanderlei's situation now after his loss to Rampage. And once you suffer those kind of losses, it's hard to take punishment and shots to your chin further down in your career. So my other one is Rich Franklin. Of course, at 185, Anderson Silva dispelled him twice. He decided to move back up to his natural weight of 205. He's going to run into some problems against the top guys there in that division. I think there's some style matchups with other guys he's going to run into problems with. At heavyweight, my most underrated fighter is Shane Carwin. He's got a good wrestling base, decent grappler. I still think he needs to improve a little bit on that. But his hands are dialed in. They're going to continuously get better, I think. And I think he's a guy to look out for. Overrated fighter Brock Lesnar. He is the heavyweight champion after only 4 fights. He still needs to work on his hands, even though he did knock out Randy Couture and then hurting Heath Herring at the beginning of their fight. His boxing is still a little bit sloppy. He needs to work on his jiu-jitsu. Lesnar will be a guy to look out for. He is going to be a dangerous guy at heavyweight. And in the UFC, if he does stay, he is going to be, if not stay a champion, but be a champion again. So those were my picks. Like I said at the beginning of this video, not everyone's going to agree on these. Feel free to leave some comments. The fellow guys here in the MMA YouTube community, I know a couple guys are going to do some video responses to this. Do a video response if you feel like you want to. And on that note, you guys, have a great day.